government charge. I was charged with racketeering, interstate commerce, conspiracy, trafficking, several other charges. They charged 15 black men. Actually, they charged us with pimping, 15 with trafficking, same thing. There's not 15 pimps in the city of Atlanta. They put some dope boys, so-called pimps together.
This call is from a federal prison.
And all y'all are in a conspiracy together to traffic. And what we're going to do, we're going to offer you a deal. For all of you take the deal, make a plea. We'll give you 5 years apiece. That's the deal. Now, at the time, I didn't know that government has a 98% conviction rate. 98% conviction rate. That means when you go on a federal courthouse and go to court, you got a 2% chance of walking out of there. Now, who wants to play in a game or be in a scenario where you got a 2% chance of winning? Well, 13 out of the 15 took the plea. They were smart. 5-year plea. Wasn't guilty. But they knew the consequences. They said I was the leader of this pimp organization. Lie. I wasn't going to lie on myself. So I pleaded not guilty and took it to trial. Then I had a trial. They said I was to be tried, or rather judged, by 12 people. These 12 people were supposed to be of my peers. But that was a lie. Because it was not one pimp in the jury or one prostitute in the jury. Now let me explain something a little bit better. They said that I had some hoes. That was a lie. A hoe is a woman that lays down first, get up last, and don't ask for no cash. Ladies that I was dealing with and was dealing with me, these ladies gave pleasure. The men that bought pleasure. Now, pleasure is God's gift to man. Sex is God's gift to man and mankind. So how in the world you put a man in jail for seeking pleasure? He wasn't trying to buy no guns. He wasn't trying to buy no dope. He wasn't trying to buy no alcohol. Trying to buy some pleasure. The lady involved wasn't trying to sell no guns, wasn't trying to sell no dope. He was selling pleasure. Now here's two people. Here's a man that wants to buy some pleasure. Here's a lady that wants to sell some pleasure. They go.
This call is from a federal prison.
Go to a motel room. Just the two of them, two consenting adults. And she gives him pleasure, he receives pleasure. Neither one of them go to jail. Well, they can go to jail because they call it prostitution. They can lock her up and will lock her up for selling sex. They'll lock him up for buying sex. And this is not one girl that was affiliated with me went to jail for selling sex. Not one man that bought some sex went to jail. But I got a 30-year sentence for accepting the money. But I got 30 years for accepting the money. I see just this week, two fellas got convicted and sentenced. One got sentenced to an 18-year sentence. The other one got a 12-year sentence. These men got 12 and 18-year sentence for trying to overthrow the government of the United States. They went to the Capitol, Washington, D.C., and rioted, broke windows, said it Nancy Pelosi's death, committing treason. They tried to actually overthrow the government of the United States and only got 18-year sentence, not 12-year sentence. I got a 30-year sentence for accepting money for prostitution. Now, I'm not against the government at all. What I'm against is some of the people that are running the government that lie and cheat to climb the ladder of success. Prosecutor that prosecuted me and lied is now a judge. She went all the way to the White House after George Bush. So she convicted 15 so-called pimps that were organized and were selling pleasure. Some of the brothers that took the plea was convicted. I'd have been home 20 years ago. I'm still serving time for a non-violent crime. I'm taking this ass whooping like a man. I ain't crying. Hopefully I'll get out of here in the future. The days till I could try to get some of my business together. And I turned myself in. Well, I had my attorney turn me in. I didn't realize whenever your attorney turn you in, whenever you got a warrant out for you, and your attorney turn you in, your attorney gets the 10,000 or whatever the reward is. If I would have known that, I would have had my lady Coke to turn me in, so she could have got that money, and it would have benefited us. When I get to the jail, I come to find out there's 14 other men in now. Half of them I knew, and the other half I didn't really know. Then I find out that all of us are together. They got all of us together in a conspiracy. Now, they saying that it was 15 pimps in a conspiracy, traffic, and 10 or 20 other little old motherfucking things that they throwed in there. It ain't 15 pimps in and out. In fact, it ain't 15 pimps in the state. They had 5 or 6 pimps, and the rest dope boys had a couple of dudes that didn't even have cars in the conspiracy. They just went down through the track and got 15 names and put us all in a conspiracy together. They offered everybody 5 years, take the plea, 5 years. Now, I mentioned before, the government got a 98% conviction rate. Well, that leaves you 2% of walking out of a government courthouse. Man, if I could just explain how the system works. They got a system to lock you up, and it's, man. But I want to get to what they did to me. They locked up. They went through the jail, the women's jail, and say, any of you ladies been with Sir Charles? Any of you ladies that's been with Sir Charles got to get out of jail free card. All you got to do is say that you work for him. So automatically there's 4 or 5 brawls holding up their hands. I used to be with him. And the ones that well, what you got to do, you got to get on the stand and say you was with him and you prostituted for him. So it was 3 of them that held their hand up and took the stand and told a lie. They had never been with me a day in their life, but they got out of jail. It was a get out of jail free card. Check this out. Prosecutor opened a statement, and this is very important because this was supposed to free me. She got the prosecutor in her opening statement said, Sir Charles, she said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want you to understand that there's 2 different languages here. One is the street language, and the other is the English language. In the street language, they got what they call a choosing fee. A choosing fee is where a woman has to choose a pimp. She has to give him money to show that she's serious about being with him. So these women paid Sir Charles to be with him. They gave him a choosing fee to be with him. Now, if they gave me a choosing fee,
this call is from a federal prison.
I accepted a choosing fee because if you don't want to be all the way down, then that ain't no problem. I don't want you around. If you do want to be around, then prove that you want to be around and that you want to participate in this type of. Should have been at one time, it was legal. At one time in America, you had the red light district. You had the whole houses, when they couldn't figure out how to tax them, then they made a law against it. But if a woman chooses and give you money is that forcing somebody to do something? I mentioned before, not one girl that sold pleasure, and that's what it is. That's what prostitution is the selling of pleasure. Understand? Men are buying pleasure. Men been buying pleasure since time began. If a woman is selling pleasure, then that's and at that time the pleasure was $50 a whop or $100. A woman is accepting $50, which is a misdemeanor. A man is paying $50, which is a misdemeanor. So how in the hell do I get up for it? She don't go to jail for selling pleasure. He don't go to jail for buying pleasure. But I get a 30-year sentence for accepting the money. You know, this. My whole thing right now, and for the last 23 years, was trying to find a lawyer that would take this case because this is plain as day. Understand? I ain't forced nobody to do nothing. They ain't nobody to do nothing, threaten nobody to do nothing. The prosecutor says out of her own mouth, they had to give him money to be with him. I never had, well, I can't say I never had. They call it a hoe. They have to come up with a name for a woman that enjoys sex, and there are people, you know, they got nudist colonies, where they have sex, and you know, sex is a beautiful thing. Everybody, take wrestlers. I don't care how big a woman is or how skinny a woman is. I don't care how black she is or how white she is. I don't care how ugly she is or cute she is. If she open her legs, uncross her legs, and open her legs, a man gonna look.
So is it true that the prosecutor try to take some of your clothes?
They didn't get not one thing. The prosecutor wanted to confiscate everything that I had. When they got down to it, the prosecutor wasn't able to confiscate nothing. I didn't have nothing for him to confiscate. She asked in my sentencing to confiscate one thing. I had a fur coat, full-length fur coat, and she asked the judge, this is where personalities come in. The prosecutor actually asked the judge, Your Honor, we would like to confiscate that fur coat that he wore. And I told the judge, Your Honor, why she want to confiscate a coat? It ain't her size. She can't wear it. Why do she want to? That's a personal thing.
This call is from the federal prison.
And that was a personal vendetta that she had. The whole thing was personal with her.
And why do you believe it was personal with her?
Because I was a black man, and there were 2 or 3 white women involved in it, and it became personal. Let me show you what they did. I paid my lawyer $65,000 to take the case. He was on the case for a year. When he couldn't convince me to take the plea, he got off the case right before I went to trial. So they gave me another lawyer named Bruce Curran. This Bruce Curran is a Klansman, and I'm saying it for nationwide to hear. He came to visit me one time in the penitentiary when I was in the penitentiary, and he stayed for 35 minutes and said he had another client he had to go, but he'll see me later. The next time I seen my lawyer was the day I was going to trial to pick a jury. He run in, and me and him talked for an hour, and Then they took me up. So when I went in front of the judge, I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, you gave me this lawyer a month ago. I've only seen my lawyer twice since you gave him to me. And I'm going to trial. This don't make no sense. So the judge looked at Curry and said, is this true? He said, well, Your Honor, I've done an extensive amount of work on this case and I'm ready to go to trial. I say, Your Honor, surely y'all are not going to take me to trial. I haven't had an investigator. I got people that I want to bring as witnesses. And surely, I mean, this is unthinkable that I'm going to trial and I've only had this lawyer, this court-appointed lawyer that knows nothing about the case. You understand? And the judge said, well, Mr. Pickens, your lawyer said he's ready to go to trial, so we're going to trial. Now, like I said, it was 15 of us in the conspiracy. 13 took the plea. They offered everybody 5 years. Yeah, I admit I was the biggest fool in the world. I should have took the 5-year plea. I'd have been home 19 years ago, damn near 20 years ago, if I would have took the plea like the rest of them. Some of them took the plea and had to take tell lies to take the plea. The boy Scooby, who was supposed to be a friend of mine, took the stand and lied. Let me tell you about the prosecutors. I mentioned it before. Prosecutor is exactly what it say. A prosecutor, that's their job, is to prosecute. Not fairness, not justification, but they don't care about whether you're guilty or innocent. The prosecutor is in there to do one thing, and that's to prosecute at all costs. Yeah, they'll tell a lie. In fact, most of them tell a whole lot of lies to get a conviction, because their main thing is to get a conviction so they can further their career. Prosecutors' whole prosecution game is to become judges. And it's a game to them. It's a game to the lawyers. First thing your lawyer tell you is, when you get it, is I just talked to the prosecutor and they're ready to make a deal. You know, you're going to make a deal on my life? You know, it's a game. Most of the language they use, they have their own language that they use. And it's language that you don't understand because you're a layman. You can go to college or law school to learn the language of the law. Well, you'll learn it fast as soon as you get one of these penitentiaries. That time that they give you, and you ain't did half of what they said you did. I was under the impression that everybody that was affiliated with the court was automatically under oath, but that's not so. Prosecutor in my case lied so cold-blooded to get a conviction, and lawyers, 90% of them down with the prosecutors, you know, because they, you know, like I say, it's a game. It's got to be a game. Anytime they got a 98% conviction rate. So what I'm really telling you is don't do the crime if you can't do the time, because the time they're going to give you ain't going to match the time or the crime. They're going to give you so much time. Man, I met a little brother in here the other day. He bought a car from an older white guy, paid the man cash, drove off in the car, got down the highway and got stopped. The highway patrol, the police stopped him, searched the car, found a bullet in the trunk. They took the man to jail for ammunition, possession of ammunition. When he go to court, the older white guy that sold him
This call is from a federal prison.
and told him, said, well, I got a pistol, a .38 pistol. The bullet could have been mine, you understand, in the trunk. You know they convicted that man anyhow of possession of ammunition, one bullet. How the hell is one bullet ammunition? Gave the youngster 7 years. So, you know, it's a cold game they're playing, man. And, you know, I can't tell you what to do or what not to do. Let me, but I want to get to something that's serious. I want to get to how the game has changed. In the 60s, when black men met each other, they say, hey, brother, hey, my brother, how you doing, my brother? In the 70s, when we meet and greeted each other, there was a different greeting. In fact, every decade there's been different greetings. In the 70s and the 80s, it was, hey, player, what's happening, hustler? You know, we greeted each other with respect. In the 90s and the 2000s, hey, my nigga, hey, fuck boy, hey, sucker, hey, chump. Nothing but disrespect. You know, the biggest respect that you get from the youngsters these days is AOG. And you got to really earn that. You got to really earn that. They got to see you as an OG. You know, when I speak of, and then you got the old school. I had a youngster come up to me and him had never said a word before, and he said, "Hey, old head." I said, "Hold it, player, hold it. Number one, I'm not no motherfucking old head, and I don't appreciate the way you approach me with that. You understand? We talking about youngsters that ain't never bought a new car, ain't never bought a house. You know, it's ridiculous the disrespect that the youngsters show the older people these days. You know, and I see it every day. I live with it every day. Man, I be thinking about these games, and I really don't want to get into the games because I can tell you about it in the 60s when I was in LA. Got gangs in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Mississippi, and things where there was no gang activity at one time. But we've been had gangs since time began. You know, in Africa, we just called them, you know, it wasn't gangs, it was tribes, and different tribes fought each other. In fact, that's how we got here to America as far as history is saying, and the Zulus or whatever tribe that was in control at that time conquered and sold other tribes to the Europeans, brought us here to in slavery. You know, so there's been gangs since time began. But it's pitiful to me when if you in one gang, you can't even go on the other side of town. I'm talking about there people who can't go to the other side of town. The first thing these youngsters ask me is, "Hey, OG, where you from?" My answer is, "I'm from my mother's womb." "But where do you live, man?" "I live in the United States of America." I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere. I'm not limited to one side of town or one state. And I can't wait till these brothers wake up and start knocking down these barriers. Take, for instance, in the state penitentiary, this phone is buzzing, and I was just ready to get started. So y'all catch up with me and check me the next time. But do a little research. get caught up at any time. And you ain't got to be a hard-working man or a hard-working sister to get caught up in the law these days. You can be in the wrong place at the wrong time